One thing we really want to change the perception of in the UK is tequila, obviously. You've tasted some great margaritas today and you see the use of tequila in those. But again, as you see in front of you, we've got a tequila flight. This is something we have on the menu where you can actually select any 3 tequilas and they're served as you see them today. All of our tequilas are served in brandy snifters. Again, that's because we believe tequila's not the drink that we used to in the UK, just shoot it back with salt and lime. You know, it really should be sipped and enjoyed just like a great malt whiskey should. So in front of you, you've actually got Cazadores tequila, which is a great brand of tequila. Very similar to the Patrons, the Herraduras. It's 100% agave.
Right.
And we'll go into the different varieties in front of you a bit later. Just to start on the production process and what goes into making tequila. Tequila is made from a plant called the blue agave. If you look at the picture behind you, there's a picture of the blue agaves there. People obviously make a misconception and they actually think it's part of the cactus family because of its long sword-like leaves. It's actually a succulent, not a cactus. Each blue agave takes between 8 and 12 years to mature. So it's quite a long process, and actually from the time they're planted to the time they're mature to harvest. And as you see there, that's a hemador, or a harvest worker, with his tool, which is actually called a koa. And they skillfully shave off the leaves, leaving that central piña. And it's actually called a piña because it looks remarkably like a pineapple, but it's between 35 and 75 kilograms in weight. So that's actually quite a small one. They do get really quite large. So once they've been harvested, they're taken to the tequila factory, where they are cooked in clay oven, traditionally in clay ovens. Some of the new cheaper tequilas and mixto tequilas are produced in autoclaves, which are slightly larger. And in the traditional clay ovens, they're cooked between 57 and 63 degrees centigrade, and they're cooked between 36 and 48 hours by injecting steam, and it's a very slow cooking process. After they've been cooked for 36 to 48 hours, they're actually cooled. The ovens are turned off and they're left to cook for a further 36 hours. After that, they take the cooked agaves out and they extract the juice. This next juicing stage, again, traditionally it was done in a process called the taona, which is actually a central pole that comes from a pivot and has a big stone wheel. And that's traditionally pulled around by a horse or a donkey, round and round, and they put the piñas in a pit filled with pebbles. And that actually crushes, and all the juices are extracted from the piñas that way. Today, most of the tequileries actually use electrical grinders. But as you'll see in your Patron CD, Patron actually used the traditional taona, but they don't use a horse anymore. They use an electric machine that actually processes that around. So once the juice has been extracted, it goes into the fermentation process, where the good tequilas such as Cazadores, Patron, Herradura, they've got their own natural yeasts that have been developed over hundreds of years that they combine specifically for that conversion of the sugars into alcohol. Again, some of the larger mixtos that we're familiar with in the UK, they use something very similar to brewer's yeast. Again, that affects the quality of the tequila. Once the sugars have been converted into alcohol, it goes through a 2 distillation process. The first distillation produces a product called ordinero, which is then further distilled to produce tequila. So when the tequila is produced, it comes out as blanco or silver tequila, or white tequila as well. And this is what you have on the left. So if you just have a quick smell of that, and if you want to have a taste as well, this is the most pure tequila you're going to get. You'll get the agave aroma and the real citrusy freshness from the tequila and the agave. And again, lots of people advocate that that's the best way to drink tequila. Very fresh, very, you get that agave flavour. And then between the different brands, you said you went to Patron tasting. Quite a bit's down to the production process itself, but it's also where the agaves are grown. Patron Cazadores is grown in the highland areas where the soils are slightly richer, which produces larger piñas that are slightly sweeter. So you'll find that Cazadores is a sweeter tequila than Patron, for example, and Herradura. So there's little tweaks between all the different brands. So that's something so nice about the tequila flight at Cantina Laredo. Not only do you have the same brand, you can have Cazadores Blanco, Patron Reposado, and Don Julio, which is really nice. The second in the middle there on your flight is Reposado, which means rested. A Reposado is rested in oak casks for between 2 months and 12 months. Again, this is the most popular tequila drunk in Mexico. About 80% of all the tequila drunk is Reposado. And again, it goes great in a margarita. It's also slightly smoother, and you'll pick up some of those oaky characteristics from the casks. And again, this is something that we have some signature margaritas at Cantina Laredo. We've actually got a Cazadores margarita, a perfect Patron margarita, and a Herradura margarita, which use these tequilas in making the margaritas. And finally, we have Añejo, which means aged. Añejo tequilas are quite strictly controlled by the Mexican government. They have to be aged for at least 12 months, and also in oak casks that are smaller than 600 litres in capacity, just to make sure they're getting that exposure to the oak. And again, this will be smoother still and pick up some more oaky characteristics. Again, another thing that's slightly different about Cazadores is that it's they use new oak casks, which imparts more flavour into the tequila. Some of the other brands, they use old Kentucky and bourbon barrels, which again, those whiskies have taken out some of the flavour, so the Cazadores is quite oaky in its flavour. We also offer superior tequilas at Cantina Laredo. These tend to be aged between 3 and 5 years. No tequilas really age more than 5 years. The reasoning behind that is because the agave flavour is quite subtle. If it's aged for more than 5 years, you lose that characteristic, and you know, it spoils the tequila. This is one example of one of the superior tequilas we offer. It's Don Julio 1942. Again, more complex flavours yet, and really these tequilas are meant for sipping, not for a margarita or anything else. And then within the tequilas here, these are all 100% agave tequilas. Wow. At Cantina Laredo, we've got 35 tequilas in total. About 33 of those are 100% agave tequilas, and we also have 2 absolutely fantastic mixtos. The difference between 100% agave, as you well guess, is that all of 100% agaves are made purely from the juice from the agave, the blue agave, whereas mixto tequilas are made from at least 60% agave, and other sugar is added to make that up. But again, mixtos vary greatly between a good mixto and a bad mixto. Some mixtos are about 99% pure agave, other mixtos as low as 60%, so there's a great variation within that. It's not necessarily to say that a mixto is necessarily a bad tequila, because there are some really great mixtos available.